All right, they don't want to list it. They don't have equity, but time is not on their side. Immediately in your brain, you probably file through and go, all right, this is a what, subject to?
I'll tell you like kind of how my brain works. No equity, automatically subject to. That's going to be the only option that I'm going to present because listing I know is not going to serve them. So automatically that's like an easy one. Where it gets a little bit more complicated is when there is equity, because there's multiple things that you can do. You can list it, you could do a cash offer, you could do seller finance, like there's a lot of different things. But then in that case, motivation is really key. So we ask a lot of great questions. Like my sales process has like, number one is like urgency. Does this person need to sell? That's the first thing we need to establish before going into the next step of the conversation. Then we spend a lot of time on motivation. What's the situation? How long has it been going on? What have they tried to do? What's the impact of the situation? Why now? Why did you decide to sell now? What happens if you don't sell the property? Is it an option not to sell? Is it an option to do this and not sell? Like all those really great like questions to figure out what's going on. And then we put them into like a future pacing, which is like, hey, once you sell, what's your life going to be like? How's your life going to improve? So we take them down this journey. And I think it's hard to match a solution if you don't understand the seller's situation or if we jump the gun too quick, because a lot of times they're giving us surface level answers and then it takes a lot. And because you're great at like uncovering motivation and like great at presenting that the first answer isn't the real problem. You got to go layers deep. Yeah.
It never is, guys. And we can take a little sidebar and go into pre-qual. Guys, when someone says to you, and this is when I help other agents, when you're calling, it doesn't matter, an expired, for sale by owner, it doesn't matter. Circle of influence, even someone that's looking to, they don't have any equity. When you say, well, is there a particular reason you're looking to sell the property in the first place? And they tell you, I'm looking to go to Florida. That is not the motivation. It's not. It's 3 levels deep from that. My next question from them is, wow, that's interesting. Tell me about that. What is important about getting down to Florida? Well, we have in-laws there. Okay, great. Is that the motivation? No. Keep going. Wow, okay. So you have in-laws down there. Is there something particular that is driving you to be down close to your in-laws? Well, yeah, one of my mother-in-law she's going to need to be put into assisted living. And we need to be down there for that. Boom. There you go. Now you can peel it from there. Have you been thinking about this move for a long time? What's it going to mean to you and your family to actually be able to sell the property and get down there? What is that going to mean? I mean, guys, these are powerful, like drive them home questions that are building rapport with you and the seller. Doesn't matter if it's traditional listing or what Aidelys is doing, which is creative financing. It doesn't matter. And I'm sure you dive deep into pre-qual when you're asking questions, right?
Yeah, it's the same. And I think agents a lot of times think that the conversation is different. So like, it's really not. The conversation is the same. You're still talking to a seller that needs to sell, and you really need to have an understanding of what's going on. What changes is your awareness around different solutions. As you start to listen for pain points and what they need and what's important, then now understanding all these other strategies, you can pivot on like what you can offer them. But the conversation is the same. You still need to know motivation, time frame, urgency, what happens if they don't sell. And those are all great, powerful questions. So anybody that's listening, that little tidbit that you gave was like incredible.
Yep.
A lot of people stay stuck in the first level and can't go.
Well, it's this. I've noticed this after talking to so many agents that are learning how to really talk to sellers. They're afraid to ask deeper questions. And I don't know why, because it's the secret sauce as to why someone's selling. Everybody's doing something for a different reason. I just want to get to the core of that reason, not the surface level of it. We got a question here from Rob. If a house is valued at $230K with no mortgage and the owner is looking for $200K, is that enough to work with? It may need a little TLC.
It's valued at $230. Is $230 what it can sell on the market as is, or is it after repair value? Are we talking about a cash offer or creative offer? Because if the house, you can list it for $230, Rob, and you're buying it at $200, that's only $30K. Just closing costs, to buy it and sell it plus holding costs probably will be around $30K at that price point. So it's not enough room to fix and flip it, but you can buy it on seller finance and present the seller a seller finance offer. I wanted Danny to talk about hybrid deals, which is where we combine, just because I want to leave people with like all the tools because I don't want them to just think it's subject to or seller finance. You can actually combine both. So
yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, so once you guys understand acquisition strategies, which is how you acquire property, which is subject to and seller finance, then you can actually combine both, which is great. So you can actually, with a property, let's use the same example, mortgage is 400K, but let's say the property is worth 600K. So 400K is the loan, 200 is the equity essentially. So what I can do is I can present to you, Daniel, hey, Daniel, I'm going to buy your house at 600K, take over the payments on that 400K loan, and then I'm going to give you additional payments for the equity. So you could structure a seller finance note on the equity. And now we're combining both strategies. So now we're doing what we call hybrid. We could do a whole nother conversation about reps. I don't want to confuse people because there's acquisition, which is how you acquire the property. And then there's dispositions, which is how you sell the property or what you do on the back end. And a wrap is a disposition strategy. It's what you do once you actually own the property, what you do on the back end. So we're just talking today about how to acquire a deal. We could have like another session about what you do with the deal once you have it. But I don't want to blow people.
I know. Basically what you're saying is, and to get back to the point, and we'll see what people say in the comments, you're taking what the seller has from the first loan, we're taking that over and then doing another loan on top. And there's a spread between the two.
There's different ways to structure it. So you can do zero money down on that equity. What we're essentially doing is, this is a different type of seller, right? Because we talked about who qualifies for seller finance, who qualifies for a subject to deal. Let's say that the seller wants 600K and 600K is a number that works for you. We can actually give them 600K creatively, and we can do it by, hey, Mr. Seller, what if I could take over the payments on your current mortgage, and that equity, the difference of the equity, I can actually give it to you in payments. So we would do seller finance. So it's the full 600, 200, which is the equity, is seller finance, 400 is the loan that you're taking over. And that type of seller, like that strategy works for someone that's like, hey, I just want 600K. That could even, you can give them market value as long as the numbers work for you. And when you think about someone that wants to go on the market, if the house is truly worth 600K, they're never going to really make 600K.
Sure.
600 is their perceived equity. Their real equity is 600 minus commissions, minus closing costs. So it's a good kind of presentation for someone that like, I want this certain number, and you know you can make that number work.
Yeah.
What if I could give you your true 600K and we could do it in this way? So it's just another tool in your tool belt.
What are your average that you see closing costs? So when you say you have to back out, fees and costs, what do you normally see? Is it deal specific, or is there like, all right, it's usually like 10%?
Same closing costs. Like for creative deals, it's the same closing costs as like a regular deal. When I just talked about closing costs, I talked more in regards to like selling a house. Like let's say you're going to list it. You do the net sheet and there's closing costs plus commissions. Essentially, the seller is not going to make their 200K in equity per se. They're going to make, you got to take off 6%. Plus, I always put in like 1 to 1.5% for closing costs. So that's what they're truly going to make. So if you're dealing with a seller where like it's in an area that you really like and the interest rate on the initial loan is really low, but they want 600K, they're not flexible on price. Yeah. Well, let's do it this way. What if I could give you more than you can make with anybody else, but we have to do it this way?
There's so many different tools that you can have, and that Aidelys has in her arsenal, to where if she's prospecting and doing lead gen in the morning, connects with someone who's got a scenario, a different scenario than most people, she knows exactly what to say and what program to put them into, and creatively, since the traditional way of listing wouldn't work. I guess what you're saying, in my mind, presenting it would be in the way of like, yeah, so, and you tell me if this is something that you could work with, is like, hey, so, Mr. Seller, the great news is we have a couple options here at your disposal, and whatever option you choose, I'll support you 100%. We can go the traditional way, which is to just list the property on the open market. You'll have to deal with inspections and appraisals, and it will take longer to sell because you're on the open market, and we're going to have a lender most likely involved. But the end result for you would be a higher price because, again, we're on the open market. Or if time is really important for you, Mr. Seller, which it sounds like from what I'm hearing from you, it is. We can go more, a different route. And you have the option of, we can just give you a cash offer. And again, no inspections, no appraisals. The money will be in your pocket in what's your average time, Adele? It's like maybe 3 weeks?
30 days or less, yeah.
30 or less, yeah. We'll have the money in your pocket in 30 days or less. And you can wipe your hands clean of the property and move on to your next destination. So based on what you're looking to accomplish and why, which one of these two do you think would serve you best?
I love that. Yeah, that's a great point. Write that down, anybody that's listening. Write that down.
I just came up with that off my head. But
guys, value.
But what it does is it detaches. I'm always trying to detach myself from the result. I don't want them to think that I want to go one way or another. If I think one way, and I'm sure you, like, if you see a seller and you're across from them, and you know that one way is going to be better for them than the other, how do you navigate that conversation? Like, that listing's not going to work, but they may be kind of set on that, or you think that this way wouldn't work, and this way would. What's your way of navigating that?
Yeah, and that's the tough conversation as like a salesperson, because we always want them to, even though we say we can detach from it, we never really do, because we always think like this is best for them, but we can't really tell anyone anything. All we can do is, that's why the motivation and time frame questions are really important, because one thing that I do in my negotiations is I'll bring back what they said was important for them. So let's say they want to list it, but I know they need to sell it in 30 days. That's where I would bring back that information that I gathered. And I would say like, hey, look, I know you want this certain number. In order for you to get that certain number, this is the direction you have to take. We have to go on the market. We have to market the property, wait for a finance buyer to come in. And this is how long this is going to take. Now, you mentioned time was really important for you. What is more important for you? Is it getting this done in this time frame? Or is it like you really need that number and you want that? Right? Because you mentioned time was important. If time is what's important and you need to close quickly, then we need to bring it back to this option, because this is going to be the best one. And that's all you can do, right? Just kind of use what they gave you to try to get them to self-reflect on why it may or may not be the best choice. We can't tell them. Right. It's always like they got to see it for themselves. That's like the hard thing. Sometimes I'm like, no, this is.
Yes. It's what I like to say, and I've heard this numerous times. You're helping them self-discover through the logic that you're giving them.
Yeah.
You're not telling them anything. You're giving them and presenting to them logic, facts, and then letting them choose the option that's best for them. But unfortunately, sometimes we know what's best. It's just that, we can't tell them what's best. But we know is, and again, you keep going back to it, and it's important, is pre-qual.
Yeah.
You keep going back to why somebody's doing what they're doing. It doesn't matter, guys. Everybody that's watching, agents that are watching, it doesn't matter what facet of real estate we're talking about. Novation, sub-2, traditional listing, cash, it doesn't matter. It all comes back to why they're doing what they're doing. And if you can keep wrapping that back, they're going to end up working with you in some way, because you've dug 3, 4, 5 levels deep on why they're doing what they're doing. Not just, I'm moving to Florida. Oh, okay, great. So how long how soon do you want to get there? And it's like, no, man, dig on that. There's a reason for that.